All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. Christine Diaz says, OMG, Katie just shared a post on her story about gaslighting. Let's get right into this information right now. We're here at late night on the live stream with information that Katie Thurston shared on her story about gaslighting. Let's go to Katie Thurston's story. She said, thank you for the virtual hugs. And then here it is, folks. Wow, 3 minutes ago. So you want to talk about gaslighting. Wow, let's go to her post right here. This is fascinating breaking news during the late night live stream. And here we go. So you want to talk about is a Instagram handle. Let's talk about gaslighting and how to fight it if you're experiencing it. Of course, Katie's referring to her experience with Greg. That's what it has to be right after the episode. So gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse or psychological manipulation involving distorting the truth in order to confuse or instill doubt in another person to the point they question their own sanity or reality. The origins. Let me just make this a little bigger here. The term gaslighting originates from a 1938 play called Gaslight, in which a husband leads his wife to believe she is insane to hide his true identity. The husband makes his wife go crazy and steal valuable jewels her family has hidden away. Part of his efforts include toying with their gas-powered lights so they flicker. He convinces her that she's imagining this, trying to drive her insane. By the end of the story, everyone questions the wife's sanity, including her. While the origins of gaslighting stem from a marriage situation, it's important to know that gaslighting can occur in any kind of relationship. How gaslighting works: lying. People who engage in gaslighting are habitual and pathological liars. They will blatantly lie to your face and never back down or change their stories, even when you call them out or provide proof of their deception. Lying is the cornerstone of their destructive behavior. Even when you know they are lying, they can be very convincing. In the end, you start to second-guess yourself. Discrediting a gaslighter will spread rumors and gossip about you to others. They may pretend to be worried about you while subtly telling others that you seem emotionally unstable or crazy. Unfortunately, this tactic can be extremely effective, and many people tend to side with the abuser or bully without knowing the full story. Deflecting blame. When you ask a gaslighter a question or call them out for something they did or said, they may change the subject by asking a question instead of responding to the issue at hand. That's called like a whataboutism, right? We see that in politics. Like, well, what about Hillary? You get a lot. Well, what about the emails? It's like, all right, bro, chill. We're talking about healthcare. You know what I mean? All right, I digress. They may blatantly lie about the situation by saying something like, what are you talking about? You're making things up. That never happened. Minimizing, trivializing your emotions allows the gaslighter to gain power over you. They may say things like, calm down, you're overreacting, or why are you so sensitive? All of these statements minimize how you're feeling or what you're thinking and communicate that you are wrong. Shifting blame. Blame shifting is another common tactic of gaslighters. Every discussion you have is somehow twisted to where you are to blame for something that occurred. Even when you try to discuss how their behavior makes you feel, they are able to manipulate the conversation and ultimately end up blaming you. Denying wrongdoing. Bullies and abusers are notorious for denying that they did anything wrong. They do this to avoid taking responsibility for their actions, but it also leaves the victim of gaslighting confused and frustrated because there is no acknowledgement of the pain they feel. This denial also makes it very hard for the victim to move on or to heal from the abuse. How gaslighting works: using compassion as a weapon. Sometimes when called out or questioned, a gaslighter will use kind and loving words to try to smooth over the situation. They might say something like, you know how much I love you, I would never hurt you on purpose. These words are what you want to hear, but they are not authentic, especially if the same behavior is repeated. Rewriting history. For instance, if your partner shoved you against the wall and you're discussing it later, they may twist the story in their favor. They may say you stumbled and they tried to steady you, which in turn caused you to fall into the wall. When this tactic is implemented enough, the gaslighter will eventually make the victim believe the rewrite. According to mental health professionals, gaslighters are most commonly narcissistic. Narcissistic personality disorder, NDP, yeah, you know me, comes with symptoms of grandiosity, no empathy for others, and an obsessive need for admiration. They think they're unique and gifted, which gives them a greater sense of self-esteem. In actuality, their self-esteem is fragile. They need others to think highly of them. They can't handle criticism or losing and are easily and deeply humiliated. How to fight gaslighting. The first step to protect yourself from gaslighting is to become the Bachelorette on the hit show Bachelorette. The first step is to recognize its presence. Once you can recognize that you're being manipulated, you can choose how you would like to proceed. Ideally, someone who is experiencing this kind of emotional abuse in a relationship would seek help and potentially leave. If you're experiencing gaslighting, here are some tips you can use to defend yourself. Don't take responsibility for the other person's actions. Don't sacrifice yourself to spare the other person's feelings. Remember your truth. Do not argue on their terms. Prioritize your safety. Remember, you are not alone. Gaslighting is a form of mental abuse. So anyway, you can reach out, text HOME to 741-741 to connect with a crisis counselor. So this was, someone said, can you send this to my dad? How hilarious. This was liked by Katie Thurston. Now, this post was from April 8th, but as was mentioned, Katie Thurston just shared this on her Instagram story, but minutes ago, and then let's see if she posted anything else. So that was her last post. That might be one of those, like, post this online and then be done with it for the night. We'll have to see. Let's go back to that and see if there was anything else that refreshed there. Let me know in the comments section if Greg Grippo is gaslighting, why he was. Like, give me an excuse in the comment section, because I think it'll be productive for people to see the example put to light. You know what I mean? It's very hard for me to, like, gaslighting is a term that is a wide umbrella term. And of course, everyone in the comment section of tonight's live stream has talked about the fact that people use it so willy-nilly when it isn't, in fact, gaslighting, that the term's kind of, I don't want to say the term has been watered down, but it for sure is confusing to people. So I do want us to get a good handle of what gaslighting means so that if we spot it, we can talk about it. GJ said, excellent definition of gaslighting, spot on. Where is that posted? This is posted on Katie Thurston's Instagram, and it is also on the So You Want to Talk About It Instagram, at So You Want to Talk About It. Layla said, sad that this behavior is so common within families. Also at work, it is very common, and the gaslighter often gets promoted. Oh yeah, gaslighting from your boss? Oh yeah. So Sophia says she won't let it go. Well, there was room for learning, but you know, if people don't think Greg is gaslighting here, I'd love for your explanation why in the comment section. Let me know. As always, you know, it's complicated. I don't pretend to watch this and go, oh, he's gaslighting. I mean, because it's almost like this. And this is just an honest question I have. If the person doesn't know they're gaslighting, if the person truly believes what they're saying, is that still gaslighting? Or is gaslighting a intentional tactic used? Honest question. I don't have the answer for that. Sage says, why do you always put other people over me? The one time I go out with friends and miss his call. Okay, so that's a good example. So saying you always do something when it's a first time offense. Tell me you were gaslighted without telling me you were gaslighted. Yeah, GJ said, liked by Katie Thurston. Absolutely. When we're not even dating, maybe people either are gaslighters or not, and you would have to know Greg better to know if this was typical behavior from him. Oh, of course. I mean, I don't diagnose, at least I try not to diagnose any people with terms of gaslighting or this or that. I don't know. But obviously, there's going to be a ton of conversation about these different topics. I'm going to clip this video up probably for its own breaking news video first thing in the morning. Veronica says gaslighting isn't as broad. It's just that people use it as a blanket term. Now so many people dismiss the term because they hear it as a buzzword. Veronica, you hit the nail on the head. This term has been used by so many people. Oh, so-and-so's gaslighting. It's like, maybe they're sticking up for themselves. I'm not saying that's the case with Greg, but there are plenty of scenarios in which people are accused of gaslighting when it's like, we need to know what this term is so that it's not overly used and we can use it in the right term. And like, this is a great example of like people throwing terms out because it's one of the terms. Now, you know, like I said, I've been accused of gaslighting, and I'm like, I'm just telling you what the deal is. But, you know, could there be scenarios in which I was gaslighting and didn't know it? Yeah, of course. Yeah. We're trying to rewrite his, you know, you get in an argument like, honey, come on. No, I was literally 5 minutes away. You might have been 15 minutes away, you know, whatever the case might be. Molding a scenario to fit your point of view. If you're maybe highly defensive in an argument or whatever the case may be, I can totally understand that. With Greg, I still struggle. And again, doesn't mean it didn't exist, but I still struggle to see where Greg was gaslighting. I think he was unable to accept Katie's apology. He was unable to hear what she was saying. Like, hey, you're like a, you know, stick around, you know. I hear that he was ruminating, but ruminating isn't gaslighting. So I just wonder, you know, and it could be both too. I'm losing my voice here. If anyone's watching this afterwards on a clipped video, we're recording this on the Monday night live stream. We're almost 3 hours into the live stream. Nine videos made today. We're going out strong here. Let's see if anyone called in the voicemail here to talk about this gaslighting. This is a big deal that Katie posted this. Again, Katie doesn't shy away from educating her audience with her platform, but for her to post this right now after a very powerful episode goes to show that she, at the very least, wants people to be educated on what gaslighting actually is. Now, this, she said, thank you for the virtual hugs tonight. So clearly she got a lot of love. Now, theoretically, she could be posting this so people understand that he wasn't gaslighting. Maybe the whole internet's calling him Gaslighting Greg. I haven't been on Twitter to find out, but everyone's saying he's getting, tormented on Twitter here. So, Tara says, I'm glad Katie recognizes what it is and doesn't blame herself. Oh, for sure. I wouldn't see a scenario in which Katie would be blaming herself here. I mean, how nice of Katie to do everything from getting down on her knees to talk to him. She did everything you would do to de-escalate a situation. Katie's very good at conflict, at de-escalating here. He was the one interrupting her. Does that mean is interrupting gaslighting? No. Gaslighting is when you lie to someone. We just read a whole bunch of terms for it, so I'll still mess this up. But when you lie to someone to try make them not believe what actually went down, right? So, they can rewatch the footage. They can rewatch how it all went down. And if Greg misremembers something and he tries to place that onto Katie, that's gaslighting, right? Rakaneda says he gaslighting when Katie never responded to his... Wait, I'm having a hard time reading this. Gaslighting when to him, Katie never responds to his feelings. I don't quite understand that. So Sarah says, yes, even if they believe it, it can still be gaslighting. I mean, not to say it's not wrong, but if they believe it, you would think it's their own sort of, I don't know what the term would be if you believe the wrong thing for your own self-preservation. Greg, you def were the first to get this on your channel. You said Greg, but you mean Dave, right? You calling me Greg? Trying to get through the comments. Stephanie says, been doing research on gaslighting. A lot of it is saying it's intentional, but I don't know what that means. Well, it's a good question, right? Because it's if someone commits manslaughter, or say someone murders someone, right? If you can prove that it was intentional, like they plotted in advance, that, doubles the amount of time in prison or whatever. They premeditated is way worse, because it's I planned this, I thought about it, versus a crime of passion or whatever, which is still bad. It's still a crime, but there's different levels. So you'd have to think to gaslighting, there'd have to be different levels between someone who so sinisterly is you weren't, lying to somebody to make them misremember thing. Tina says, I don't think he was gaslighting. He was hurt and upset that she didn't reciprocate his feelings, and he was fighting for her to fight for him. She didn't make him feel she wanted him. I want you to want me. I want you to want me. I want you to want me. I need... Okay. All right, it's really late here on the West Coast time. Looks like we have banned. Is Travis banned? I'm going to unban Travis. I think I might have accidentally banned you. I think that might have been an accident. If you meant to ban him, you can reban him, but I think that was an accident. I'm sorry. I think Greg, so Stephanie says, agree, Dave. I think Greg overreacted. I don't think he was deliberately abusing her. Plum's mom says, I don't like Greg from the beginning because he reminded me of my ex. It looks like him. He is a narcissist and gaslit to the point I ended up thinking I needed a psychiatrist. Well, I'm sorry you went through all that. But you're saying your ex did that, and you're saying Greg reminds him because they look alike. You're not saying Greg went that far, right? Christine says, OMG, I just called Dave Greg. LOL, see, I'm deaf tired. I totally understand. No worries whatsoever. Susan says, gaslighting can happen when someone is protecting himself or herself from accepting something they don't want to hear. It is usually subconscious, not intentional. Interesting that it's subconscious. All right, let's go to a voicemail here. Let's see if this is about gaslighting. I think it is.
Ready to rise. So I kind of went through this last summer. You all know I had to get a restraining order against this guy, and he was doing that. He would always try and make me see his point of view, even though I didn't agree with it. And it was just verbal abuse after verbal abuse. He even threatened to commit suicide. Don't know how serious he was. I even had to call the cops. Then he's like, "Oh, so now you're going to call the cops on me now that I did this?" It was just torment after torment. And even when I was applying for the restraining order, he even tried to get my work to fire me. So I had to add that into my letters. But yeah, I went through that last summer. I had to get a new phone number. I blocked him on everything. I had to get a new Instagram because he kept track on there. Even though when I was changing my usernames, he still kept track of me. So yeah, I went through that and it changed my life, but it was hell. So yeah, that's my take on it. Bye, guys.
Well, thank you so much, Sarai, for calling in, and we are sorry you went through that, but I do appreciate you sharing all of your, all of that you've gone through. And I think part of what's great with The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, the franchise, is that we learn about these topics. We learn about things that others might have gone through and how we can all sort of like talk about it with each other and cope. And Katie, as I said before, I'll end it here on the Katie topic, just posted about gaslighting. So for sure there'll be some commotion that comes from this. Posted it late at night. Who knows how long she'll keep this up, but good for her to share the information. She's not putting Greg's head on a spike. She's sharing the information, and it's up for us to decide what we see. My hope, at the very least for Greg, is that he learns that he's flawed, like the rest of us are, and seeks help from that, and that he can, learn from, whatever his mistakes are, whatever coping mechanisms. A part of it's just coping mechanisms, right? We're all trying to survive. So his dad dies. Maybe he grew up with whatever other trauma or issues he had, and it's not healthy. It's collateral damage to others, but that's the way he survived, and it's about nipping that in the bud. Right? It's about nipping the wrong behavior so you stop that, so you can meet somebody who, because you would never want to fall for somebody and then give them all this toxic behavior of yours. You want to bring the best version of yourself to others. And if you're not there yet, it's like, keep their relationships away. Work on yourself. Come back when you're ready, and maybe you'll meet somebody who can value you at face value. I don't think anyone in the future that dates Greg is going to watch this season and think he's the worst guy in the world. They're going to see a guy who's just struggling. And unfortunately, Katie's had to deal with that struggle. Well, that's the update from Katie, and that's the update of this clip.